Hi guys, and welcome back to Scott Minis. I'm your host Scott. Um, just to welcome you guys all back on my second video into this look into alternative miniature companies from across the world. Having a good look over and just seeing if there's something a bit different out there for you guys to try and look at, and seeing if there's a different miniature you can buy for your armies or your dioramas, and just something really alternative to the Games Workshop branded or the bigger sort of names out there. Having a look over the internet this week, I came across this company based in the UK. It's called Warploque Miniatures. A fantastic UK company where they produce, it's predominantly larger size miniatures in the 32mm scale. They are certainly got a very different style to them. It's more cartoonish when you have a look at their miniature range. Certainly there's a lot of very individual, very characteristic models that have got a lot of kind of different kind of cartoonish faces to them. A really interesting company that I looked at there. As I kind of searched through on this company this week, the first thing that kind of brought my sort of attention, it was the halfling. It was the halfling cavalry that I'd sort of saw, and I kind of had a look at that, and I thought it just looks absolutely phenomenal. It just looks so different. There's not really anything on the kind of Games Workshop range that I could kind of see that was something similar to this. But if you look down, you can see they've got their. It's just a really cool looking pose. A little bit on the expensive side. I kind of found that with this company. What they were actually doing was that it was working at about the same price, if not a little bit more, for their for similar sort of looking models. To me, I've always looked at these alternative companies and try to get a kind of cheaper alternative to what the usual Games Workshop's selling, just so I've got something a bit different and trying to save money at the same time. But with these guys, I thought, do you know what? If you were wanting to make up like a diorama or just paint something really different, these would really spring out to me, because I like the cartoonish faces. Like this little guy up here just looks absolutely great, with his big sort of moustache, and the ram kicking its feet out the back. It just looked absolutely cracking. I noticed on these miniatures, you can actually request them for resin and metal. Now, I'm not experienced enough to kind of go. I know that metal's a lot easier to paint than resin, but I'm sure some of you guys, in just your experience, I think with the resin, what you can do is it's slightly easier for converting purposes. You can sort of add on extra additional plastic bits. I can't really see these being able to incorporate into games into your games at Age of Sigma or anything like that. The style of it really wouldn't suit in, but they are so interesting, these miniatures. It's just that I love the cartoonish faces, like I say. I also had a look at. There's a couple other things as well. Just having a look through their kind of halfling range. If you go into, click up here, I'll mention the website as well, guys. It's www.warploqueminiatures.com. If you go into Archworld, go down, scroll down to halflings. There was one here that I saw, if I can find it. It was called, that's it, it's the Fleeing Halfling. I really loved that miniature. There's not many. Normally you just get these miniatures with kind of heroic poses, or they don't really look like this. Again, a little bit pricey, but I mean, I'd be prepared to pay that price because it's so different. It's just, fine, when you're buying a miniature like that, nobody else in your gaming group or nobody else is really going to have that model. That's the impression I get. You're buying one-off models really with these sort of with this company. I love the pose in this guy. You know, the hands up, obviously running away from whatever danger he's got. Postage wise, I couldn't quite see what they were gonna charge for that. I mean, I would have thought, we had been a UK based company, for an individual miniature, my experience is probably about £3-4. I might be wrong. Clearly, with the situation that's happening just now with COVID, there could potentially be delays on that. I never actually saw how long it would take on the website. It never actually gave me a rough idea, but I would have thought you would have to wait a couple of days. It's probably going to be about £3-4. But I'm sure if you kind of explore into it more, you guys would see, and just build up a bit of a bulk order, and I'm sure the cost would kind of come down in that respect. But I really like that guy. That was really cool. That fleeing halfling character. Kind of just scrolling right down, going right through the different armies that you can see on Archworld. I'll mention this Archworld as well. This seems to be their own individual game that this company's kind of produced to get their models on. And like I say, it's 32mm. You're going to really be able to use that in your games of 40k or Age of Sigmar or anything like that. You could probably, I mean, if you're sort of having a friendly game between two of your mates, you know, probably, would it be a problem? Probably not, but I don't think the style would fit in there. Having a look through this one, I saw this one, it just was so cool. Let's see if we can find it again. It was the Imperial Arc Lancer. It just looked so comical and just so great looking. I loved the expression on that guy. You know, again, £7. Would you pay it? Yeah, I probably would. At the end of the day, it's just I kind of buy more for individual models and just something really special, real one-off. I'm prepared to kind of pay those prices. Some of you guys might not, but for me personally, I love that. And I love the fact that they've got the wiring just underneath his spear tip. You can imagine he's maybe just poked something that shouldn't have been poked, to be honest with you. His facial features are absolutely excellent. But yeah, so the Imperial Arc Lancer, sorry. But there was one other thing that I saw. It was one of their bigger models, going back to the halflings. And this was one of their bigger minis that I saw, that I thought, it just looks so cool. And it was this one here. It was a halfling thing flinger. Now, I kind of fallen in with the whole. I can remember back in the early days when I started collecting. I remember the kind of halfling models came out from Games Workshop. They had a lot of character to them. They were kind of a little bit similar style. I would probably say the dwarfs, as well, up to an extent, were a little bit similar style to this. But how cool is this? I would love to own one of these in my Age of Sigmar army. Have about maybe a couple of them laying out in the battlefield, throwing whatever rocks they had to throw at their oncoming enemy. Even down to, I thought it was even just genius about this. You know, you've got the halfling there feeding in the hay to this cow or this bull, and the character up at the top with the looking glass there. You know, it's just absolutely spectacular. That £35 to me was, I thought, reasonable sort of cost, but that was just so cool. But as I kind of went through this, I even had a quick look at Fantasy Football. Now, personally for me, I've never played Blood Bowl or a fancy football game. I've never really been into that. I think I played the very first edition of it, but I never ever really ever got into Blood Bowl at all. I know it's got quite a following to it, and I know that it's been the Games Workshop version. It's been around for so long. I think it's out in its 3rd edition now. But the Blood Bowl miniatures that I saw, they were just, they were outstanding for what you could actually have a look at. There was this one's here. I personally was collecting up a Kroot army for my Tau at one point, and I actually bought a lot of lizardmen and converted them into Kroot warriors. And I had a look at some of these that came up, and the one thing I absolutely loved was the little guys in their team. They would be the equivalent of skinks. There was one that I really liked, which was this one here. It was the guy with its tongue sticking out to get the football. How cool is that? Again, just an awesome little team that you can actually go off and buy. 70 quid. Pretty expensive, to be fair, but it's just such a cool looking team. I don't think that would actually look out of place, to be honest, in your Blood Bowl teams, if you want to go down this route. Certainly I would say nobody else would have this. Just so cool. But having a look over with the other sort of Blood Bowl stuff, you know, having a look at the halflings, you know, you've got your kind of usual there, kind of teams, you get your little individual guys. The Oakheart was one of them. I looked over, I thought the cost was pretty good with him. But how cool does that look? I mean, I've seen a lot of the Treemen that Games Workshop produced, and there's a lot of them that were kind of, they had a bit of character to them. They looked pretty cool. I really like the new version of the Treeman, but this one here, Oakheart, absolutely cracking, phenomenal miniature. Like the fact these faces all sort of screwed up. He's obviously cheering on, or he's going to wait to absolutely batter somebody else out on that playing field. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And the Squeaky Blinders, or the Ratmen, having a look over their sort of team. This was the one I thought looked so smart. It was like a Peaky Blinders. It looks like a Peaky Blinders or Victorian rat. That was their coach that they've got. You can obviously tell a lot of care, a lot of time, a lot of effort has been put into each individual miniature just to make it stand out. I think that's a great thing about this company. They obviously have a team of people, or they have a designer there that clearly thought about it and not tried to follow the norm of these miniatures, and really try to make something very individual, very cool looking. But again, like I say, going back to the point, you know, they do offer up resin, metal, you know, right across this range. £7 for that, I would certainly buy that. Just having a quick look back on Ark World, there was one other one I'd had a look at, and it was Swords for Hire. Now that's one thing I've noticed when I've been buying back into Games Workshop miniatures. They used to do a fantastic range of miniatures that were, from what I remember, it was mercenaries. They had the Dogs of War range that came out, which offered up some pretty unusual units back in the fancy battle days. They had, from what I remember, in 40k, they had like a mercenary band that you could get. I think it was Colonel Schaefer's Last Chancers, and it was like an individual model that you actually got. That, for me, was probably Games Workshop's kind of better sort of moment. It really offered up a lot of diversity for making up just some really unusual squads. With this one here, I mean, I had a look at one I saw. If I can actually find him. Yeah, Crunk the Barbarian. And this is what I really liked. Personally, for me, I would have just bought some of these mercenaries because they just looked so cool and so different. But Crunk the Barbarian looks great. I mean, you could certainly probably use him in your games, Dungeons and Dragons, or ultimately playing this Ark World game that they've come up with. You know, you could do that. How awesome is that miniature looking? He's a cool looking barbarian with his beer in his hand as well. Cool expression as well, just ready to kind of chop off the heads of a couple of orcs as well. So that was pretty much it, guys. Like I say, I had a good look over, just seeing what this Warploque Miniatures had to offer. Like I say, I was really impressed. I just thought it was so cool and so individual looking. But yeah, check them out. Like I say, www.warploqueminiatures.com, and check them out for some cool individual miniatures, guys. And we'll speak to you very soon again. Cheers again, guys. Bye.